in the beginning of 2022, which was not necessarily Polkadot centric, but that's where we had the best network and we knew the technology was very, very good. And so, what would be the quality of the businesses that would be building on it and the founders? And that fund is now fully deployed, and we're in the process of launching a Polkadot ecosystem fund now.
I'm here with Mark Kachia, founder of Scytale Digital, GM.
Yes, I GM.
Even though it's afternoon
Yeah, well,
already.
it could also mean go mainstream if you
Oh,
follow
okay.
Astor.
That's great. So, welcome to our show. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So, first of all, we really want to know about yourself, a bit about yourself. So, can you tell us when did you get into Web3? And yeah, a little bit about your background.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm originally from New York, came up in the financial industry, started in Wall Street,
Tradition.
and then went into hedge funds, and then only after that got into private equity, venture, and then tech investing, and then blockchain. So I started the fund in 2017, the
Wow.
first one in partnership with some crypto native people because I'm financial industry native. And it was Ed Hesse, who was a founder of, or co-founder, Grid Singularity, which became the co-founder of Energy Web, and which is now a Polkadot parachain. And he brought uh, Gavin Wood and Aaron Buchanan as co-advisors and partners in the fund. And that went pretty well. But my history was that I looked at Bitcoin in 2010 or 11, and I set aside part of my bonus to buy 1,000 Bitcoin for about
Wow.
$9,000, and I couldn't get the
Since then,
transaction to go through. It would have
I
been on
see.
MT Gox, so it would have been difficult anyway. But it was just too
Back then, fair
complicated
enough.
and looked dodgy. And then also Ed said back in 2016, "Oh, you need to buy Ethereum. You need to buy Ethereum. It's going to be amazing." And I said, "Okay, well, what's the price?" And he said, "It's $8." And I said, "Well, where did you get in at?" He said, "I got in at less than $1." I said, "Well, then I missed it." So,
Wow.
yeah. So, but then in
Hmm.
2017, all these ICOs started happening, and I thought it would be a real value proposition to be able to identify quality founders that were building like viable technology. And if you could find out who they were and what they were doing before they listed their token, then that should be, on average, be pretty profitable. So that was the idea of how we got started. And we invested in Polkadot. We invested in Energy Web. We invested in Ocean Protocol, Melonport, which is now called Enzyme Finance, and a few others. And it went pretty well. It was very difficult for the first 3 years, but then in 2020, things started to go better for crypto overall and for us as well. And then we started Fund 2 in the beginning of 2022, which was not necessarily Polkadot centric, but that's where we had the best network and we knew the technology was very, very good. And so, what would be the quality of the businesses that would be building on it and the founders? And that fund is now fully deployed, and we're in the process of launching a Polkadot ecosystem fund now
Yeah.
with the sponsorship of the Web3 Foundation. So we're very excited about that because we see a way to be very value added for the ecosystem. And one of the easy things to do, not easy, but obvious things to do, let's say, for the ecosystem is provide capital to high potential teams.
Great. So, in the mindset of an investor or the founder of a funding right venture, so how do you view on Polkadot? What's the special features that capture you?
Well, the really special feature is the tech stack.
Definitely.
And we see that there are a number of external teams that are adopting the technology, they're building on it, and they're not attributing or connecting to Polkadot. So, whereas there's the strength, there's a weakness also on the brand name, let's say,
Interesting.
and the sort of network effects as of today. But as barrier of entry comes down with agile core time, so you don't need to reserve bunches and bunches of dot for a parachain slot. And then with the onset of jam, which will happen
That's
sometime a
big.
year from now or so, that'll reduce the barrier to entry even more and make everything just much more accessible and composable. Then I think we're going to see a Cambrian explosion of growth in Polkadot. And from now till then, it's our job to attract high quality teams to educate the market about what's going on in Polkadot, because as you might know, it was very high profile in 21 and in early 22, and then has sort of lost attention since then. And now, we're at a Polkadot event in Singapore during Token 2049, and there are people here, absolutely, but just people in general are aware that Polkadot was something great and now are not paying attention to the latest developments. And it's really our job to really bring attention to that, and then also bring the opportunity to do something with it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, any projects that had your eye on already?
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
number.
yeah.
There's a number of projects that we're talking to, that we're in deep due diligence, that we have term sheets out to. One of them that is higher profile is called Hyperbridge.
Hyperbridge.
Trustless bridge to everything, which will have very high impact on all of blockchain. And so the fund isn't launched yet. It's nearly launched. So we haven't closed the deal yet, but we have the term sheet, which is agreed with the founder. So we're really happy about that. And then there are a number of others that we are looking at. So the fund itself, is mandate is a dual mandate. One is to invest for profit, and the second one is for the benefit of Polkadot. So both
I
of
see.
those aspects have to be there. Doesn't have to be just pure profit, and doesn't have to be just pure Polkadot, but they both have to
Company.
be there.
Sure.
And so I think that makes the fund attractive for dot holders as well, that they know that there is this entity out there promoting the ecosystem,
Yeah.
and it's something that if they wanted to, they could put some of their dots with, and that would benefit from what we're doing. So we'll be doing liquidity provision that should pay staking plus, and then we'll also be doing venture type investments. LPs will participate in if they're invested in the fund at the time of the investment.
I see. So, talking about a little bit more details in criterias for projects, what are some of the criterias? More, you were mentioning like profits, and then for the community as well. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
those are the
just
two like
like
top
big one.
level
Yeah.
criteria, right? So if it's not Polkadot related, or if it's not anything that's going to bring value to the Polkadot ecosystem, then we're not going to be able to consider it, even if it like has a super high profit potential, because that's not the mandate of the fund. And likewise, if there's something that'll be super helpful for Polkadot, but it ends up being more like a grant or a donation where we're going to lose money, that's also not appropriate for the fund. So both of those factors have to be there. And then we have, fairly standard type of venture requirements. So we do, a deep dive on the team, on the viability of their intended product, on the technologic feasibility. So we look into all of those things. And with the probably more art than science factor being really the team evaluation. Because,
What do you
things
mean
are
by that?
changing quickly in technology and blockchain especially. And in all likelihood, teams will have to pivot and change different aspects of what they're doing. But the team doesn't change itself. So you have to really make sure that it's like high integrity and super high resilience to really fight through difficulty, because it will always be difficulty.
I talked to different projects. They most of them are actually wanting user adoptions.
Yes.
Some of them want devs adoptions. So how do you think about that? What's more important? Is there like there should be like a balance, or this one comes first and the other one comes later?
Yeah, well, I think they're both critically important from a dev perspective. If you have devs building something, you really hope what they're building is something that people will want to use. And there is a sort of trap that technologists can fall into. Say, oh, this is like a cool thing that we can build. Let's build it, but nobody wants it and nobody's going to use it. So
Yeah.
that's not really a great investment. And on the other side, if you're really like pushing the user side, which we think is like absolutely important and is absolutely important, if you're bringing all these users and you don't have something that's technologically feasible to deliver to them, then that's also not good. And so you really want to, have both of those together. So I can't say one is more important than the other, other than like if you don't have one, you won't have the other.
That's great. Makes sense. So, how about trends? I mean, do you think that you can invest in projects that goes with the trends more from maybe for this year? Because AI is on the trends right now, for example.
AI is on the trend.
Yeah. So
DPIN is on the trend. RWAs are trending.
you focus on those narratives
Yes,
mostly.
yes, but we don't chase, right? So what is often the case is like if something is very trendy, then somebody will just put that name on it, and whether it has anything to do with it or not, and then either be able to raise or have a higher valuation or something like that because that's the flavor du jour. And we tend to be more contrarian and not try to chase trends. Now we don't ignore them. We know it's important, especially for investors and for attention. And a lot of times, attention is everything because if people aren't paying attention to something, they'll just never know about it and they'll never use it. So yeah, so we are looking at specific DPIN type of investments, some AI as well, and also RWAs. And if we look at the existing portfolio that's present there, whether it's AI or providing GPUs for AI, RWAs, DPIN, and also is not a hot topic right now, but we think is very important, is gaming. And I don't mean gambling gaming. I mean like entertainment gaming. And as you may know, our biggest
Used to be the
investment in the
trend.
existing fund is Mythical Games. And they're going to announce, well, probably by the time this is published, it'll already be announced, a deal with FIFA, which is going to bring at least 100 million new players. And these 100 million players will have 100 million Polkadot wallets, more than exist right now. So this
Yeah.
is like, how do you allocate for that? How do you value that? We'll see. We'll see. How much they're paying in, how many transactions they're doing. What is the in-game economy going to be like? If you look at NFL, which has about 5 million downloads and I think around 100,000 active users right now, because the season's just starting again, and they do something like $100,000 a
That's right.
day in volume, and this one will be 100 times bigger, maybe more than that. We'll see once the game comes out, and it's really not so easy to forecast with any kind of accuracy, but this is where trends come in. You can forecast the general direction that things are going in, and for blockchain in general, I really like to use the analogy of, or even technology, of a company called Share Your World, which
Share your work.
Share Your World. You haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
It's from 1997. And in 1997, not every country had internet. Not everyone had an email address.
Yeah.
Not everyone had a internet service provider. And if you did have one, it was a dial-up. So you would dial up with a modem on the phone. You would hear the noise and everything. But Share Your World had this great idea. Let's have people make videos and then share them with their friends and post them online. But the upload times were ridiculous. Broadband was very limited. Video compression technology just wasn't there. And then the company eventually ran out of money. And then a few years later, another company with almost exactly the same business model launched. But now everybody had fast internet connection. Much more of the world was wired. Video compression technology and sharing technology was much improved. And this company was called YouTube. So sometimes, like, the infrastructure is just not there. The understanding and the acceptance is not there. And it takes a little while for that to happen. And I think it'll be a similar type of dynamic with blockchain. And we'll see that some of the ideas that people had in 2015 and 2016, where it just was not possible to execute from the infrastructure, is a very different story now, and it'll be even a very different story once Jam launches. And these types of businesses will actually be viable. And that's kind of what we're expecting. That's what we're forecasting. And what we're trying to do with the fund is to early stage invest in teams that will be building on that, will be viable, that, and then to stay relevant in the meantime.
Any advice for builders? For it'll be my last question for you. So, any advice for builders out there who want to get their projects invested?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Come talk to us. We have a team of researchers on the investment side and on the technical side. And we offer guidance and support on a number of different business aspects. We've run a couple of academies so far that go over from marketing, funding, and we had a specialized game one. We had a pure just blockchain one, talking about technology, talking about interacting, different service providers, everything. And we view ourselves more as partners that bring money than just pure investors that don't do anything. So we think that that's the real differentiator, to work with teams in partnership to have a better result for everyone. So part of the mandate of the fund is not to only invest, but it's to hopefully do a good job at research and publishing this research and sharing it with other investors, to write the lead ticket, and then to bring other investors in with us that will also add value by virtue of them investing.
I think it's been quite inspirational for Web3 lover to hear what you're sharing today. So thank you so much for coming today.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
it's
thank
been
you.
great. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
been great talking to you. Yeah. So hopefully to see you in the future.
Okay, invite me to Vietnam. I'm there.
Definitely.
Okay,
Okay, we're
cool.
done.
Well, thank you.
Can we take a
Sorry to
photo?
keep you waiting again.